The divine warning by the prophet for the nations. The citizens of all free national governments, according to their national constitution, are of one family bearing one national name. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and are subject to all inferior names and abuses and mistreatments and mistreatments that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the names and principles that allude to slavery. I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways and go back to the state of mind of their forefathers' divine and national principles, that they will be law abiders and receive their divine right as citizens according to the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. They are to claim their own free national name and religion. There is but one issue for them to be recognized by this government in the earth, and it comes only through the connection of the Moorish divine and national movement, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all other nations of the world. And through it, they and their children can receive their divine rights unmolested by other citizens, that they can cast a free national ballot at the polls under a free national constitution of the state's government and not under a granted privilege, as has been the existing condition for many generations. You who doubt whether I, the prophet, and my principles are right for the redemption of my people, go to those who know law in the city hall and among the officials in your government and ask them under an intelligent tone, and they will be glad to render you a favorable reply, for they are glad to see me bring you out of darkness into light. Money doesn't make the man. It is free national standards and power that make a man and a nation. The wealth of all national governments, gold and silver and commerce, belong to the citizens alone. And without your national citizenship by name and principle, you have no true wealth. And I hereby calling upon all true citizens that stand for a national free government and the enforcement of the Constitution to help me in my great missionary work, because I need all support from all true American citizens of the United States of America. Help me to save my people who have fallen from the constitutional laws of government. I am depending on your support to get them back to the constitutional fold again, that they will learn to love instead of hate and will live according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and supporting our free national constitution for the United States of America. I love my people and I desire their unity and mind back to their own national and divine standard, because by day, they have been violating the national and constitutional laws of their government by claiming names and principles that are unconstitutional. If Italians, Greeks, English, Chinese, Japanese, Turks, Arabians are forced to proclaim their free national name and religion before the constitutional government of the United States of America, it is no more than right that law should be enforced upon all other American citizens alike. In all other governments, when a man is born and raised there and asks for his national descent name, and if he fails to give it, he is misused, imprisoned, or exiled. Any group of people that fails to answer up to the constitutional standards of law by name and principle, because to be a citizen of any government, you must claim your national descent name, because they place their trust upon issue and names formed by their forefathers. The word Negro deludes in Latin language to the word nigger, the same as the word colored deludes to anything that is painted, varnished, and dyed. And every nation must bear a national descent name of their forefathers, because honoring thy fathers and thy mothers, your days will be lengthened upon the earth. These names have never been recognized by any true American citizen of this day. Through your free national name, you are known and recognized by all nations of the earth that are recognized by said government in which they live. The 14th and 15th Amendment brought the North and South in union, placing the Southerners, who were at that time without power, with the constitutional body of power. And at that time, 1865, the free national constitutional law that was enforced since 1774 declared all men free and equal. And if all
Islam,
men,
Islam.
Islam, and if all men are declared by the free national constitution to be free and equal, since that constitution has never been changed, there is no need for the application of the 14th and 15th Amendment, the salvation of our people and citizens. So there isn't but one supreme issue for my people to use to redeem which was lost, and that is through the above statements. Then the lion and the lamb can lie down together in yonder hills, and neither will be harmed because truth, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice will be reigning in this land. In those days, the United States will be one of the greatest civilized, and prosperous governments of the world. But if the above principles are not carried out by my citizens and my people in this government, the worst is yet to come. Because the great God of the universe is not pleased with the works that are being performed in North America by my people. And this great sin must be removed from the land to save it from enormous earthquakes, diseases, etc. And I, the prophet, do hereby believe that this administration of government being more wisely prepared by more genius citizens that believe in their free national constitution and laws, and through the help of such classes of citizens, I, the prophet, truly believe that my people will find the true and divine way of their forefathers and learn to stop serving carnal customs and merely ideas of man that have never done them any good, but have always harmed them. So I, the prophet, am hereby calling aloud with a divine plea to all true American citizens to help me to remove this great sin which has been committed and is being practiced by my people in the United States of America, because they know it is not the true and divine way. And without understanding, they have fallen from true light into utter darkness of sin. And there is not a nation on earth today that will recognize them socially, religiously, politically, or economically, etc., in their present condition and in the present condition of their endeavorment in which they themselves try to enforce upon a civilized world. They will not refrain from their sinful ways of action, and their deeds have brought Jim Crowism, segregation, and everything that brings harm to human beings on earth. And they fought the Southerner for all these great misuses. But I have traveled in the South and examined conditions there, and it is the works of my people continuously practicing the things that bring dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives the life. And I am hereby calling upon all true American citizens for moral support and finance to help me in my great missionary work to bring my people out of darkness into marvelous light. From the Prophet, Islam, and peace and love to Brother Lavelle, brother, I think that's Brother Divine Bay.
Islam, peace and love. Wanted to wait till you finish.
Islam. Some transition. Like I said, at any time, just stop me for any questions, comments, etc. But other than that, I have something queued up for today. So Allah, all law manifests are clothed in flesh. One second here. All right, sorry about that. My little son over there crying. Trying to make sure everything was okay. All right. So Allah, all law manifest are clothed in flesh. Quote from Genesis, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. Of course, arm, leg, arm, head. So here is a image and a quote from Genesis chapter 2, verse 8. And the Lord God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed. Of course, dealing with the goddess or the zodiacus principle. So when we're dealing with, when we hear stories about And most of us, I'm not sure, I'm not going to assume, but I would imagine most of us know about Salem and the burnings and stuff like that of our wise women. But nonetheless, there's people on here that may not have heard that. So I felt that was an imperative to lay the foundation where we're going to go from there. So the burning of the witches of Salem. Keep in mind the word witch means wise woman. The Salem is salam, which means peace. Was the burning of our wise women of peace yet another example of how the European crusaders murder and suppress of our wise women of peace? A conversation I had with one of my grand aunts showed our proof as to how our women are the real targets. She informed me of how, back in the day, the house authorities would conduct random inspections. She would tell me how they searched the closets and under the bed looking for evidence to see of the men, if the of the men were in the home, and marked it off as inspection to make sure the man was not there to help our women, so that the entire load of supporting the family lies on her shoulders, her back, her soul, her spirit. All of this while her man is being thrown in jail, publicly shamed, beaten, and the like. Imagine the psychological torment our women go through. Her mindset, without doubt or contradiction, affects children in the womb, as her womb is in fact the first school we ever go through. More proof of the intentional suppression of our women is displayed on the Shriner's fez, with the sword above the head of the Sphinx, representing our women, representing the suppression of her mind, thus her womb, thus all her children and the European men and women proudly flaunt it. The crescent, the crescent and the star representing the womb and the eggs are inverted, with the mind of the woman being suppressed, displayed as the sword over the woman's head. The fez is worn as a symbol of the womb. The top of it has a nipple shape that symbolizes the navel. The strands of the tassel are 360 degrees, as in 360 degrees of knowledge. The tassel is not pinned down as it is in secret societies. Properly free-flowing tassel is indicative of one who was born of the womb, endowed with and aspiring to and beyond 360 degrees. So it signifies that you're forever going to be a student and you coming out the womb to know knowledge, be a scholar, humanitarian, builder. That's where back to the manifesting principle of what is represented in Egyptology as Ptah, representing being the manifester, and that's what we are as ancient people. When we're saying we're declaring our nationality, we're saying we're attempting to aim to get to the competency and nobility of our ancestors, as well as work together economically. I got something in the chat. Supreme Courts are truly against the welfare system. They literally have on how to break up exactly. That's the whole thing, right? Suppress the woman, have the man and woman at odds, and make it where the state is the parent, word of the state. All right, so they navigate upon the earth, and their potential is not limited, not pinned down or kept secret. However, it's sacred. The 4 sets of air holes are equal to the number of the woman 9. I don't know if whoever hasn't seen the top of traditional fez, there's air holes on the top.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're referring to. And add 13, the number of times a woman cycles per year, which is in tune with the cycles of the moon. The fez shows you the way. The fez is typically red felt with indigo black tassel. The fez is the headdress of the ancient, the Moabite Moors, also spelled Mur. It is geometrically formed to represent the eternal zodiac or zodiacus. The body at the fez symbolizes the womb of the cosmos and the womb of woman, mother. The 1 inch final, which extends out of the center of the fez, is the number one. And the ninth letter of the phonetic, or some they'll call our people Phoenician, but it was the masters of language, or phonetic Moorish alphabet, I, which also symbolizes the navel, or the eye. The cord extending from the eye symbolizes the universal umbilical cord of universal life and represents the oneness of all life. It also represents the tie to the source of humanity, Zodiacus, the first woman. Masonry is a system of disciplined learning. More is the pedigree and nationality of the direct descendants of the founders of civilization and the ancient high science culture, Gnosticism, cosmology, alchemy, geometry, algebra, numerology, astrology, architecture, mathematics, and philosophy, from which Masonry draws its wealth of knowledge. So the Masonic lodges draw their knowledge from Moorish science or the Moorish science that got handed down. Thus, Masonry is the high culture esoteric and Gnostic system of learning Moorish science and culture and history, literally and factually, which has forced underground and veiled is veiled in allegory stories, mysticism, signs, and symbols. So they took the uncut knowledge, buried it, and left symbols of it and allegory examples of it. But once you get the uncut knowledge, you'll look at that stuff and be like, oh, that's what they're trying to imply. It all pops out. All men do the bidding of women. This is a fact. It is their duty, and a honest man will admit it, that even if he doesn't, in all reality, he is affected by her from the time he was born. And while in the womb being made, if he is arrogant, possessive, and insecure, she taught him to be that way. Much of these things were learned in the first schoolroom of the universe, the womb. Thus, he did not stand a chance to be otherwise. Submitting to the will of Allah is done in the womb during one's making. Allah is all law manifested in flesh, arm, leg, arm, head. Everyone is a Muslim, as Muslim is a fetus, muscles, bones, and tissues. Our Muslims is the same, muscles and limbs. This is why they wear these fezzes with Muslim, Islam, El Bay, and Morocco, amongst other ancient writings upon them, right? So people in the lodge, they got fezzes that have all these things because they know the truth. It is clear that they are modern man and we are ancient man. They are not and cannot ever be ancient man. They have no ancient history. Many wear the womb as a royal crown, except for the Moorish woman, and she is the mother of all civilizations. Clearly, she has been unconscious, and it is time now for her to awake to see the great meeting can take place. So the great meeting can take place. For those sisters who are in secret societies, the Eastern Stars, etc., the secret is about you. You are aware of Esther or Easter or Estar or Isis or Astarte or Venus, representing all the same thing. An indication and proof that the universal language is that of cosmology. This is why you were called an Eastern Star or Venus, because Venus is the Eastern Star. To my sisters who have not been previously aware, you may not be an Eastern Star member, and you need not to be, yet you are a star from the East. Venus, the cosmic mother, which rules Libra, dealing with Mayat, back to the Egyptology, right? Islam, balance, Mayat, all the same expression, peace. You need balance to maintain peace. Islam means peace. Salam means peace. Salem, salam, calling our women witches to create disruption and destabilize us so we won't be at peace. And preserve the balance of nature, which are scales of justice and sword of truth and retribution. It is time to rise from the ignorance and see you for who you are, and more importantly, for your obligation and responsibility to humanity. If you do not plan, which is to plant, if you do not plan or plant to bring any more royal crowns here, please teach your daughters, who are the direct descendants of founders of civilization, teach them ancient high science, culture, Gnosticism, cosmology, alchemy, geometry, algebra, numerology, astrology, architecture, mathematics, philosophy, and the science of the womb. As everyone else is drawing wealth and knowledge from it and wearing it, the symbol of the womb atop their head, as their royal crown, except for the mother of civilization herself, you, the Moabite, Moorish, Asiatic, African woman. It has already been established that the fez represents the womb. The 4 sets of breather holes count up to or spell out numerologically the sacred number 9 plus 4 equals 13, the cycle of the moon, and the cycle of woman in harmony with the moon. The white of the fez represents the moon, and the gold tassel, the sun, in 360 degrees of knowledge aspired to upon the earth plane. This ball of mud, thus the white fez represents purity, symbolic of the womb. The Moabite nation flag, the matriarch, is the white with gold crescent star. The crescent represents the mother and child, the mother cradling a child. More specifically, the mother and son, as she can easily duplicate herself. But to transform a female egg into a male specimen is the miracle. Thus, she has created the miracle son, the prodigal son from her womb. When pondering upon the Daughters of American Revolution, DAR, whoever doesn't know what that is, that's a Masonic fraternal order of women, modern European women. Whoever doesn't know that when people get citizenship here to become U.S. citizens, they have to study the DAR manual. We find that they begin charters as far back as 1890s here in the North Gate, the heartland of the Temple of the Sun and Moon. The Moorish nation flag is the flag of her sons. It is red with a 5-point green star in the center, like the one behind me. When she became unconscious, the flag of her sons was flown. It represents great bloodshed ensued upon the land, many divisions and tongues, false prophets and mass destructions and the like. This bloodshed was not only in death of the human form of many, but it represented the flow or shedding of the blood to make up many other nations. The scepter, if you will, was passed to her sons while she lay unconscious. It is not to the son's fault, as it was she who caused the great destruction, and it will be she who repairs it. Her awakening is or will be the great wrath of Allah. What were the Daughters of America revolting against? What were these Albion women revolting against? DAR, Daughters of the American Revolution. What was the revolt about? Their establishment was based on the promotion of historic preservation, education, and patriotism. The aha, and there you have it. They have directly against the matriarch, which is the republic form of government. Now, just a little quick background as far as their men we had as Slavs. The women were like our harem, but that's the terminology, harem. Back then, we talking about Albion women, you know. So they didn't like that. The women at that time, the Albion women, the quote unquote white women. So their whole inspiration was to break up the whole republic empire structure we had as a people. They are directly against the matriarch, which is the Republican form of government here in America. A republic is based in matriarchal principles, not patriarchal. Their revolution certainly was not inclusive of the Moorish, Moabite, Asiatic African woman, as she still thinks there is a revolution to come, and rightfully so, as it is her revolution that must occur in order for humanity to live in harmony. She must wake up and recognize that she is the mother of the daughters of American Revolution and that they are revolting against her sons, of which they, daughters, were in concubines for, right? Harems, concubines. The Moabite, Moorish, Asiatic, African woman must recognize and begin using the teachings of her daughters to use the science of the number nine, the science of the womb, to invoke the powers and purpose of her womb, to bring in children of great. As that occurrence can only happen as it relates to her and her womb. Anything other than that will bring in something that is not connected to her, of her cause, certainly not in a positive manner. The development of a fetus or the Muslim in the 7 stages of development upon the waters of her womb is then cut from the navel and becomes a navigating L upon the 7 waters of the continent. And that's the whole monad becomes the nomad. The monad becomes the nomad upon the physical plane. The traveler, we start traveling, building, manifesting, doing great things, building empires, right? The daughters of the American Revolution were well aware of the science of the womb, and they utilized it in their revolt against their history of being concubines for the Moorish sons. Yes, that is their history, and that is what they revolted against. Even though the sons treated them fairly well, much better than their own sons, as their own sons were placed in isolation in caves of Europe, where they partook in homosexuality, bestiality, and the likes. They practically had no choice. The Moorish sons had the women. This is proven when you do studies that unveil the so-called white woman being traversed down the Barbary coast behind so-called black men. Many saw that as a form of slavery or capture for the European daughters. However, it was the course of events regarding their creation and placement. The intercourse with them brought about blended nationalities. So now we get these mixed creations of nationalities now, right? It had nothing to do with the traveling down the Bering Straits or the Great Diaspora. These Albion daughters of American Revolution wanted to be free from their past history and free to create their own reality. They have come a very long way and are very proud of their accomplishments. They utilized the womb and created sons who are endowed with the directions and psyche. They imparted to them in the womb to come out with the demeanor to hate and destroy Moorish sons. Their sons became members of the Ku Klux Klan. right? Daughters of American Revolution sons became known as the Ku Klux Klan to be the foot soldiers of their mission. We need to have a different view when we see these daughters now wanting to be linked back to the Morris sons. It is in their DNA. It is also the DNA of the Albion son to have a distaste and genuine fear for the Morris sons. In irony, as the mother and fathers of civilization, we were their salvation. Dishonoring of one's mother and father includes them. They go the way they came, and others will be destroyed by the sun. Right? So we their mothers and fathers too. They're going against their mothers and fathers. Oftentimes, modern scholars try to portray the Muslim or Islamic faith as being suppressors of women. But let's see what the real scholars have to say. So this is a quote from the Golden Age of the Moor, page 11. Moorish Spain was very unique among Islamic nations. Women enjoyed more societal freedoms than in any part of the Islamic world. They moved freely in public and engaged in various gatherings. Another quote from the Golden Age of the Moor, page 57. It shall be pointed out that, at least during this era of Islamic Spain, girls as well as boys went to school, and numerous Moorish women became prominent in literary and artistic fields. Other Moorish women were involved in education, law, medicine, and library sciences. So Islamic people that practice peace, you can't box us into being Sunni, none of that with modern day religion. Islamic people, original people that practice peace and harmony with nature, Mayat, Patah, whatever you want to call it. In that system, women flourished. In fact, they were in political positions of power. Queen Khalifa, for example, whenever you say Khalifa, you're saying this the feminine version for the Caliph, which is a position in Moorish government. Just like an Emir and a Sharif, right? So that gives you an example. So I'm gonna transition to the next part of the demonstration. Any questions, thoughts? Please put them out there. All right, so continuing once again where we left off last week with the demonstration with the whole trust law, contract law, elements on what makes a contract valid, consideration. We know a trust is a contract, and we know contracts have its own jurisdiction, as stated in the Constitution, the contract clause, Article 1. All right, so we've learned all these things over the past couple weeks. Of course, this new brother, uh, this past video that I could send you, catch you up to speed on that. Or if you got direct questions, we can answer them on the spot, however you want to go about it. So I'm going to continue. So we're dealing with Title 79 United States Codes, which is codifying what was said in Congress, that no power has been expressly conferred upon Congress by the Constitution to make the treasury notes of the government a legal tender between private individuals and discharge of pre-existing debts must be admitted. So before I continue, notice the lingo private individual. So let's go to the Black's Law Dictionary for one quick sec. Let's go to private law, distinguished from public law. All right. As used in contradistinction to public law, the term means all that part of the law which is administered between citizen and citizen. We should all know what a citizen is by now. We've been covering that heavy the last 7 weeks. Essentially, a citizen is a person that has allegiance to their nation. They're part of a body politic. They're paying taxes, dues. They're an ambassador pushing the cause, and it's an organized body. If that type of person engages in a contract with another, now to give an example, members or citizens of a Moorish body politic, Moorish organization, dealing with Chinese consulate or, you know, some Asians that have the same type of thing going on, a national organization. We enter into a contract. It is what it is. That's private. As long as the elements of contract law are in place, and we know a couple of them. Like I said, I told everyone to go look up contract 101 just so you can get the basics. But we know consideration. We know about the whole minor situation. Minors can't enter into a contract. We know it can't be one-sided. It can't be unilateral, right? As long as elements like that aren't involved, that contract is law. All right, that's what that means between citizen and citizen. Now, a U.S. citizen contracts are is different because that's a minority. Somebody saying thinking they're U.S. citizens, even though they can enter into contracts if they want to. But what I'm leading to is trust law because this is a build up to like a load of your title can conveying property into a Moorish organization, and it's a build up to why that's private. That's why I'm going more that route when I'm saying when I'm saying citizen to citizen. I'm talking about competent people dealing with competent people. Because when you look up state, it's a group of organized people of the same nationality, and those people can enter into international relationships with other nationalities of people on the globe, which creates international relationships. That's why I'm talking like this when I say citizen and citizen. Two nationals entering into a contract, private. That's my whole point. Anybody have questions on that? Or if you want me to re-explain that different, please let me know. But why did I go there? Because of the private individual aspect, right? So once again, I'll start over. That no power has been expressly conferred upon Congress by the Constitution to make treasury notes of the government a legal tender between private individuals in discharge of pre-existing debts must be admitted. Money is used in the Constitution in two senses. In the second subdivision of the section relating to the power of Congress, the Constitution speaks of the power to borrow money. And there, the word must be used in the larger sense of the strict money or of anything received instead. But in the fifth subdivision of that section, which gives Congress power to coin money and regulate the value thereof and the foreign coins, it must be evident that Congress referred only to metallic money. From time immemorial, in all countries, in all ages of the world, the precious metals have been the medium of exchanges. And in the strict monies, the value of these metals has been designated by a stamp upon them indicating their fineness and weight. That is, indicating the value at which the coins were rated. When the coins have possessed the value indicated, they have passed from hand to hand as of that value. When they have been not found to possess that value, they have, except within very narrow limits, failed to so pass. Not only has money meant metallic money, but upon looking at the public history of the times, which this court has established as a proper guide to the construction of the Constitution, we find that in history of the country, there was no period in which money was more distinctly understood and meant to be hard money than in the period when the Constitution was framed and adopted. The framers had just passed through all the horrors of an unredeemed paper currency, the history that currency had been within the view of those who staked their property on the public faith, always freely given and grossly violated. The mischiefs of the various experiments that had been made were fresh in the public's mind and had excited general disgust. The bills of the government, unredeemed indeed, become at last so hopefully beyond redemption, basically is worthless. The country had returned for circulation to a species currency, absolute money having intrinsic value, and neither had nor wished any other currency. But the context, as well as the word itself, shows that the power is confined to metals. This grant is not a grant to create money, but simply to coin money. Right? That's the language. It's to coin money. A power that can be exercised only on money. All right. So the whole point is to connect this to consideration and contract law. Remember, if there's no consideration, the contract's not valid. What's consideration? Something of value was given. Money. So Federal Reserve notes is by definition not money. Once again, it's a note. It's a promise to pay. So this is the language when you're talking later, like I say, it's going to be a point where we're claiming properties on these principles, putting things in trust. You know, like I say, banks can't own property, only humans can. Then we're talking about right of claim, right? So this is all a build up. So these principles, we need to just keep them in our mind. Here are a couple case laws on the topic of what we're talking about that were determine what money is and what money is not. We would use these things. For example, U.S. versus Long. An informed jury found Mr. Long not guilty of willful failure to file a tax return. Dealing with taxes, the reason I'm bringing taxes up, or we're going into the taxes or IRS, is because they're telling you that you owe. 9 times out of 10, they want you to pay in Federal Reserve notes. And once again, like we went over certain things the last couple of weeks. This may be more clear to some than others, but like I said, if you got any questions, just stop me. So in the Donnie Williams versus Commissioner of the IRS, the Supreme Court, in that case, it was a quote, a note, even when and payable on demand and fully secured, is only a promise to pay. Since Federal Reserve notes are not secured and payable on demand according to the law, they are only a promise to pay and not payment. All right, so it's tons of cases like this. All right. So when we're talking in law, when we're conveying property into organizational trust, family trust, and you're challenging the fact that, for one, if you got a mortgage, you're not paying. You never got nothing. You went to the bank to get 100,000 to purchase a house. You never got that money. They never gave you nothing, right? That's an example. And if they did give you Federal Reserve notes, what they never did, that still wouldn't be payment. That's the whole point. But 9 times out of 10, you didn't get nothing at all, nothing physical. And you said you can have my house if I miss payment. All right, let's go into this. Let's go into this. So this is Supreme Court Craig versus State of Missouri, 1830 case. Argued January 1st, 1830. It was actually a writ of error that was filed in a Supreme Court case in the state of Missouri. Little background. So in 1823, an action of trespass on the case was instituted in the circuit court for the Court of Charleston in the state of Missouri by the state of Missouri against Hiram Craig and others. The declaration sets forth the cause of action in the following terms. For what whereas heretofore on the first day of August in the year of our Lord 1822 at the county of Charleston aforesaid, the said Craig, John Moore, and Ephraim Moore made their certain promissory note in writing, bearing date, the day, and the year aforesaid, and now to the court here shown, and thereby, and then and there, for value received jointly and severally, promised to pay the state of Missouri on the first day of November 1822 at the loan office in Charleston, the sum of $199.99, and the 2% per annum, the interest occurring on the certificates borrowed from the first day of October 1821. Nevertheless, the said Hiram Craig, John Morrow, and Ephraim Moore did not on the first day of November or any time before or since pay the state of Missouri at the loan office. The said sum of that, I'm not gonna keep repeating the number. So they didn't pay it. So Congress had no express authority to issue treasury notes. What is a bill of credit? What did the Constitution mean to forbid? It is enlarged, and perhaps its literal sense, the term bill of credit may comprehend any instrument by which a state engages to pay money at a future date, thus including a certificate given for money borrowed or a promissory note. To emit bills of credit, because that's the literal language, FYI, whoever doesn't know that, I would imagine everybody does, but Article 1 in the Constitution, that's the literal language. To emit bills of credit conveys to the mind the idea of issuing paper intended to circulate through the community for its ordinary purposes as money, which paper is redeemable at a future date. This is the sense in which the terms have been always understood. Such a medium has been always liable to considerable fluctuation. Its value is continuously changing, and these changes, often great and sudden, expose individuals to immense loss, are the source of ruinous speculations, and destroy all confidence between man and man. To cut up the mischief by the roots, a mischief which has felt through the United States and which deeply affected the interests of prosperity of all. The people declared in their Constitution that no state shall admit bills of credit. If the prohibition means anything, if the words are not empty words, it must comprehend the admission of any paper medium. The history of paper money has been referred to for the purposes of showing that it is a great mischief, consisting being made a tender, and that therefore the general words of the Constitution may be restrained to a particular intent. It has been long settled that a promise made in consideration of an act which is forbidden by law is void. And back to the consideration. Other things we can use, most of us already know, but once again, Section 411 of 12 USC reads Federal Reserve notes are to be issued at the discretion of the Federal Reserve Board for the purpose of making advances to the Federal Reserve banks. The said note shall be obligations of the United States. So once again, if you're an employee of the United States government, that applies to you. The 115th Congress, second session, also known as House Resolution 5404, defines a dollar as a fixed weight of gold. So tying back to the Constitution, talking about weights and measures, gold and silver coin being money. We have another House of Representative situation on March 22nd, 2018, saying the same thing. The US dollar, even though it's saying US dollar, just think of the Federal Reserve note, dwindled in value, is worth nothing. We can use those in our writs to substantiate, you know, we got brothers writing letters to the IRS on why they're not subject to pay. All these are valid things to put in an affidavit. Another case, this might be one of the most famous cases, is Donnie Williams Company versus Commissioner, and it's actually the IRS commissioner. That's the full context of it. And in that case, which once again, we can use this in our writs, right? As bullet points, res judicata, things that have been already decided to say why Federal Reserve notes, for one, you're asking me to pay you in that. It's not my responsibility. It's not money. And two, we already covered, you're not participating in the voluntary withholding situation, right? Or it's IRS Congress, right? Because in the Constitution, we know what Article 1, Section 8, only Congress can levy taxes. So we know the IRS is not Congress. So all these things play a part. Another case, First National Bank of Montgomery versus Jerome Daly. This is a property case, a foreclosure case. They saying the mortgage did not represent ownership. They saying the bank didn't. Jerome Daly's position is the bank didn't give me nothing. The bank never loaned me anything. That's Jerome Daly's position. Jerome Daly won the case based on that position. Lawful consideration wasn't given. See the lingo? We've been talking about this the last couple of weeks. Lawful consideration. That was the issue. Mr. Morgan admitted that all the money or credit which was used as consideration was created upon their books. And this was standard banking practice exercised by their bank in combination with the Federal Reserve Bank. So that was a highlight, that they magically created money in the books. Jerome Daly's position, no consideration. They just magically created numbers on the books. Unanimous verdict for the defendant. Unanimous verdict for the defendant. What was the defendant's position? The bank never gave me nothing. They had no right to foreclose. They violated contract law. Nothing of value was given, amongst other things. Of course, it's amongst us, you know. Look at the order. Let's look at the order. Because this is stuff we can look up on the public record now. This case. This was the order that the plaintiff is not entitled. Who was the plaintiff? The bank. The bank put the foreclosure on the defendant, quote unquote. The bank is not entitled to recover possession of lot 19, Fairview Beach, recorded in the Register of Deeds. That because of failure of lawful consideration and note and mortgage dated May 18th, May 8th, 1964 are null and void. They're saying the mortgage was non and void because there was no lawful consideration. Nothing to value was given. That the sheriff's sale of the above described premise held on June 26 is null and void and have no effect. So the house already got foreclosed and it did a sheriff's sale. They said all that don't matter. This is their house. And to stress home this point, let's go to mortgage in the Black's Law Dictionary. Let's go to mortgage. Matter of fact, I'm gonna reiterate that before I go to mortgage. Brother Randolph, peace and love. So I'm gonna reiterate this before I go to mortgage. This was what was ordered. This was the final decision. So once again, the bank had a mortgage on the property. The defendant is saying, hold on, because he got some common sense. He knows law, competent. He challenged and said, I never got nothing. That's a violation of contract law. This is fraud. It went to court. This was the outcome in that court case. The plaintiff, the bank, is not entitled to recover possession, however they got it in the Register of Deeds, because lawful consideration, the note and mortgage are null and void because nothing of value was given. The mortgage was fraud or null and void. It even went to a sheriff's sale. They're saying that's null and void. Has no effect. Who cares? The bank has no right to title or interest in said premise or lien thereon. It's a judge saying that the bank has no right to title or interest. Why is the bank saying that? Because the man came in there with competence. All right, so now let's go to mortgage in the law dictionary, and this will make more sense. I'm not gonna say make more sense, but I'm just gonna add on. So, and I'll be hating when that shit. Oh, there we go. So mortgage, Black's Law Dictionary. An estate created. So once again, because we talked about this in this context before, the person that thinks they're the borrower creates an estate. Why? Because as we've learned, they're really the grantor, the creator of a trust. That's why it says an estate created by conveyance in its absolute form, but intended to secure the performance of an act. So the security is saying, like, remember, you're going to most people think they're going to the bank to get a loan to get a house. All the bank people is doing is drafting up a fraudulent contract stating that pay me this a month. If you miss a payment, we can take over the house. So the house never was theirs until you agreed that, oh, if I miss a payment, yeah. If I default, you can have the house. That's what's going on. So when a estate was created, right? Now look, by the grantor or some other person. So the grantor think they're the borrower. And to become void if the act is performed agreeable to the terms prescribed at the time of making the conveyance. A conditional conveyance of land. A transfer of property passing conditionally as security for a debt. a debt secured by pledge of lands. So you pledging the real grantor that created the trust is pledging their land. Now, and legally, they're vested as a creditor. But in equity, the debtor or the quote unquote debtor, which is really the grantor, are the actual owners. So the people that think they're the borrowers are the actual owners, but they think the bank is the actual owner. So in the ins legis or legally, it's a contract until because remember, most people are minorities when it comes to law. But when the minority wakes up and gets competent, he can undo all that and be like, "Oh, that's a fraud." Because remember, the minor can't enter into a contract anyway, right? The banks are the borrowers, exactly. All right, okay. Some other little things. Once again, it is just case law and case law. I just wanted to stress on that point. There's no more case laws to support that as well. This is dealing with income tax because a couple of brothers, I believe, in here. Matter of fact, was the brother still in? I don't think he's in here. He was asking about the taxes. Um,
Brother L.
yeah, peace, brother.
Yeah, if I can interject, if you don't mind,
Oh yeah, yeah.
in regards to that case that you just read, I had two side notes that I wanted to add on about that. The first side note is that, if you go into any of these banks and you sign all rights reserved, non-assumption, 9 times out of 10, they're gonna come back to you and demand that you change that signature. They do not want you to be on a level playing field with them at all. And effectively, what you did is you you had countered. You did a counter to them on their contract, and they don't like that. They don't like dealing with that when you go in there and sign all rights reserved. And then secondly, that case, man, they end up murdering that judge too. They end up murdering that judge too for that ruling because it totally exposed the banking system, and they did away with him too, man. So I just wanted to add on to that too about that about those two different scenarios.
Wow. Anybody else had any thoughts? If you talking, brother, you definitely muted, brother Shalom. I don't know if you're talking to somebody else or if you're talking. I want to let you know you muted if you was talking to us.
No, I'm yielding the floor. My apologies. I should have
No.
mentioned my intentions.
No, I was talking to brother Shalom. I
Oh, okay.
see his mouth moving. I wasn't sure if he was talking, thinking we can hear him. All right, so I'm gonna transition.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so basically what that brother was saying was basically like, okay, if we kind of curve around the weaponized system that they have in place, that they got something for us, you know what I'm saying, to counterattack that. So how do we maneuver around that?
Um, you mean for what do you mean as far as
Like he was saying, basically, boom, when he added to what you were saying about that case, it was like, okay, they killed the judge for giving him his rightful place or whatever because he knew the law. And then he was saying that they don't like for you to sign the contracts a certain way or whatever. So if you come to a bank and you know everything that you need to know and you sign the contract the right way to have the same outcome as the case that you stated, you know what I'm saying? What's gonna happen if they give us pushback? They're gonna be like, nah, we're not gonna give you a loan, or what's gonna happen then?
no
Well,
you
let me let,
oh,
let,
go
let
ahead, go
me
ahead.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to jump in like this, but no. Once you sign it, once they accept it, look, you have what is called Truth in Lending Regulation Z, 72 hours. The bank has 72 hours to counter respond to any counter offer you gave them. And then after 72 hours has elapsed, then all bets are off. That's under any contract. Any contract, you have 72 hours to counter offer, or if you um, want to terminate the contract in total, you have 72 hours under law to do this. So
Mm-hmm.
if they don't respond to you within that time frame, I mean, they can go, they can bang their head in the sand for all I care because, and if they, what legal actions are they going to take? They can't really take, they don't have a remedy at that point. It's a done data, you know?
Ah, okay.
Exactly. They can't tell you how to sign anything.
Yeah, you could sign your name with X.
Hey, hey,
X,
hey,
I,
brother. What was that term you said when you signed the paperwork? It was a certain term you used. What does that mean when you sign?
you could sign, for example, you could sign by, let's say, by Jane Doe, by Jane Doe, and then you could do the acronym ARR, which stands for All Rights Reserved, or
That's what I was
one of
talking about. Yeah, all rights reserved. Okay.
All Rights Reserved. But then also you could sign the non-assumption. Non-assumption means no contract. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Period. I mean, both of these, both of those usages are effective. Okay, and it keeps you out of contract. You reserve all your rights. You didn't enter into a contract knowingly, intentionally, or voluntarily. So they can't now hold this against you in any cause. And like I said, you can now the ball is in your court. You get balls in your court. What
Wow.
they gonna do? That's why you always listen. You always get a whenever you sign a contract, and especially when you're reserving your rights, always obtain a copy of it soon afterwards. Soon afterwards, as soon as you sign it, you obtain a copy of it. Because then what they can do is lift your signature. They can take your
Mm-hmm.
signature, lift it, and place it onto their contract. And this is the reason why they teach kids in school. They don't teach them handwriting anymore because now
No,
everything's
they don't
through the
teach them
computer.
cursive. You're right.
Yeah,
Oh.
they don't teach them because now they can't effectively reserve their rights on these contracts. Everything, because if you read Title 15 of the U.S. United States Codes, Commerce, just clicking or agreeing to a contract is the same, has the same effect as you signing it. So
Yeah.
now, because the thing the bank have to do, the bank has to bring in the original contract. They cannot bring in the duplicate, they can't bring in the copy. It must be
Mm-hmm.
the original. And nine
Word.
times out of ten, they've already like it gets lost in the system per se. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so therefore they're bringing in copies and everything, and that
Wow.
doesn't
Y'all got
fly.
the
They can't
hair
do that.
standing up on my arms, man. This is good. I like this. Wow.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
they can't
Okay.
they can't do that, bruh. They can't do that.
And
And,
Wow.
that
and
if
also too, the, uh, pull up the definition of money, okay? Especially under
mm-hmm.
the UTCs. So what do you have? You have a car note. We already know you have a house note, but
Mm-hmm.
then also under note is a promissory note.
Exactly.
Promissory note is the equivalent of cash. So when you sign a promissory note, you're depositing money in their institution.
Yep.
You're making a deposit with them. They're borrowing money from you at that point. But see,
Word.
yeah, man. So this is deep, man. It's deep, and they're
It
relying on
is.
they're relying on your incompetence to go along with this.
Because
And you see,
credit
it
is
is
fake
harder to
money,
fill
correct?
out applications. My bad.
Credit is fake money, right? They create the credit to give you the loan and you make the money real by paying them the money
See,
back,
what
correct?
what what they do? Okay, so look, you loan them the money, and then they turn around and charge you interest. They charge taxes, fees, penalties, all type of stuff, man. So you're
That
paying
is
like
correct.
3 to 4 times over the amount of the loan when you're all said and done. So you ever heard people, man, that let's say, for example, they go in and get a car, they end up paying 5, 6 years on a car note.
Yes, sir. I just got done. I just paid my car off. They had me on a
You didn't
7 year
pay.
loan for a Nissan Versa, bro.
Oh, come on now. Now
I'm not
you didn't
lying.
pay You didn't pay 4 or 5 times over that car, man.
Yes,
You
sir,
know,
I
when you
did.
think about the blue book value over a duration of time, you didn't pay 4 to 5 times over the value of that car.
Yes,
Yep.
sir.
So this is how they getting you, man. And then they have the audacity, if you miss a payment, to come out and try to repossess
And
it.
take your car. Yes.
Oh,
Exactly. And then
that's
not to
why.
mention, that you got it registered with the state, so they own it. They got it. They got their hands on it. So you got quasi owners to the mode of conveyance. Quasi owners. You have the state. You have the so-called lien holder, and then all three of you guys claiming some type of stake within that property. You get what I'm saying? But then you coming in third, actually. You a junior when it comes to the lien association.
Wow. Mm, 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 mm.
But once
Yeah,
again,
man. Crazy.
Wow.
just competency, man. Just know what you're dealing with. And like that's why I tell everybody, study contract law. Study trust law. And once you study these things, you'll look at any mortgage note. Once again, you look at a mortgage, it's always called a deed of trust, right? It's called a deed of trust. That's what a mortgage is, the literal term of it. When you look it up at any public record at the county level, you look up any mortgage, it's going to be called a deed of trust. When you look at the borrower, it's going to be always in parentheses. Don't believe me, do the research. Look it up
Oh
on.
no, I believe you, brother. Because I've, you know what I'm saying, before I bumped into y'all, man, I was blessed to meet some other brothers that was into it. They gave me the information, so I claimed the rights to my assumed and fictitious name, and I printed that out. I was on the way to claiming my birthright, but I lost touch with the guys, and I know if you do certain things wrong, it becomes a federal thing and all kinds of stuff like that. So I just backed off for a long time, and now here y'all are. So, you know what I'm saying? It's a blessing, man. I'm
Yeah,
still listening. I'm listening.
yeah. And I'm just my thing to you is to highlight certain things such as when you learn trust law, you're gonna see basic principles like lingo, grantor, trustee, beneficiary. When you look at that deed of trust, the grantor is the borrower. It's gonna say it on the document. It's gonna say that the borrower is really the grantor, and that the bank is quote unquote the whatever bank is really the trustee, and then somebody affiliated with the bank, typically the title company or somebody affiliated with them is the beneficiary, which is another violation. See, once you know trust law, you're like, oh, well done. You can't be the trustee and the beneficiary. You can't be the same person. That's a violation of trust law. If you knew trust law, you would know that to spot it. So these are examples of what we mean, and then it's simple as that. When you're dealing with these people, as you saw in a court case, consideration was a big deal on why the defendant won and why the bank, it was ruled upon at the bank that they didn't, it was nothing. It's because consideration wasn't given. That's a violation of contract law. These are just simple principles that we need to get grounded in. And then when we start looking over these fraudulent documents, it'll be very clear on how we will respond to the fraud. Oh, according to trust law, hold on, if I'm the grantor, because it's literally says grantor on the on the deed of trust, and that's like they're hiding it. They're calling the borrower the grantor. It's just the people are so gung ho to get the house that they don't read the documents. They're just signing. They just so happy to get the house. They're not reading. Our people aren't reading the document. They're telling you,
Exactly.
they're telling you what they're doing to you, right in front of you.
Also, brother, I wanted to add on, man, one last time. If let's say you draft a writ, I believe that case is called the river. I forgot. It's called the river something case. I forgot. It's from Minnesota. It's from Minnesota. However,
Okay.
that case has never been repealed or overturned. So always keep that in mind. So you can
Okay.
add that into your writ. And also another one to add into your writ is the affidavit of Walker Todd. That's a awesome, man. Get your hands on that. Read that document too, man. Read that,
Okay.
the affidavit of Walker Todd. That's
Okay.
another powerful document as well that
Okay.
deals with money.
Okay. Okay. Because right now, like I think they allow you like 4 years not to pay taxes. I ain't paid taxes in 3 years, like income taxes, things of that nature. I tried to start a business because I know this is a corporation, and I could have hid behind my EIN number, never used my social security
Oh,
number for anything
yo,
else. But my business,
I'm sorry, brother. I was gonna say, man, for recording purposes, we, it'd just probably be wise to keep taxing questions and those type of questions private. You know what I'm saying?
okay,
Like
yes sir,
house questions. Yeah, we don't want to discuss anything like that over a live chat. But
yes sir.
yeah, just hook up with one of us, man, on the or privately, and we could discuss it that way
Okay,
because
cool.
yeah, we don't want we
Okay,
don't
I
want
got
that.
you. My bad. It's my first session. I
No, no,
apologize.
you good, you good, you good. Yeah, you good.
Right.
It's a question in the chat. Let me see what we got here. Do the banks use your application to grab money from your Federal Reserve Bank? And like I say, that's they're using your information and securitizing it. Divine Bay. Um, so they're securitizing instruments. Like for example, back to the mortgage note, is people that invest in that. Like on the flip side, the borrower is thinking that they're making a payment at 6% fixed for the next 15 to 20 years. On the flip side, you got people that can invest in the note as a bond
Right,
with 6%,
right.
6% interest on their money, on top of their principal in XYZ amount of time. So that shows you what they're doing and what they call the black market or
Isn't that
secondary market. Secondary,
derivative market, right?
yeah, but they call that the secondary market. When I was working in those lending brokerage or whatever, they talk about the secondary market. But really, all that's going on is there's people that's investing in your note, in the mortgage note, because what makes it a note or something, what makes it a security, that's the lingo, dealing with securities. What makes something a security is that it's a locked in contract, blind faith that somebody is going to pay every month. And they pass that along. Like you paying me every month, I could pass that contract to my friend. I could be like, look, they give me 20 racks. I'll sell you this contract. It's somebody gonna be paying you rent every month for the next 3, 4, or 5 years. And that's a fraud too. Banks do that. Reassign the note. So now you paying somebody else. Once again, once you study law, you're gonna be able to spot all these frauds in principle. You know what I mean? So that's the whole thing too. Anybody else had any
Y-
thoughts on this?
Yeah, I wanted to add on once again to enlarge what Brother L was speaking on. Just look at it like this: when you register your car with the state, you have investors around the world. The state is saying, "Hey, well, we got this car, we have this vehicle, this automobile, and we have this person paying X amount of dollars every year. And if they don't pay their car, they don't pay the insurance, they don't pay the registration, we gonna then come in and take it and confiscate the car. But in the meanwhile, what we're gonna have you do, we're gonna have you can invest, you can buy this bond, and we'll pay you so much amount of interest over this amount of time into its maturity. Okay. So this is the reason why when they pressure you to go register your car with them, to go get a driver's license and all these other different types of things, is because they also this is how they fund the state as well, man, with once again through the secondary markets. Okay. Everything, your even these homeowners, same thing with them. They don't pay those property taxes. They don't pay a ordinance or some type of city ordinance or statute that's passed by the legislator from that town or city, and they pass that bill on to you, and you don't pay it. Hey, they could come out and put a lien on a home, or something of that extent. It's the same thing, and then they have some investor sitting over in, who knows, Belarus somewhere, that own your car or your property indirectly. Okay, and then the state is the force of arms to shake you down, to so in order to make his debt payment to them. It's a cruel game, man. It's a cruel game. That's actually called there's a document you can probably pull it up on the internet. It's called Paper Arrows. And he made a reference to that type of to those type of methods, man. It's called a fraudulent conveyance, or also it's called an illegal conversion. Those are also lawful terms as well in Black's law. Fraudulent conveyance, illegal conversion. That's what the state does when they tell you to register your property with them, because they know if what they're going to actually be doing with it. They're going to take ownership, and then they're going to package it in some type of bond, package it, and then have an investor around the world pay into it and get paid by it.
Yep, that's
I
secondary
yield the floor.
Islam. Everything he just said, that's the secondary market. That's the intricacies of what goes on. So I wanted to transition into consular relations, so to speak, consular affairs, how to interact with foreigners, and the importance of being part of a body politic, being an ambassador, being a citizen of a Moorish organization, Moorish nation state, Moorish body politic, Moorish jural society, etc. So dealing with the Department of State Consular Notification and Access Manual issued by the Department of State. The Consular Notification and Access Manual instructs all federal, state, and local law enforcement and judicial officers as to the means of dealing with foreign nationals, i.e., anyone in their national capacity, where I highlight the fact that Al-Moroccans, Arabic, Americans, English, Moors are not foreign to the land of America. We are foreign to the United States, which is a European colonial body politic. One section of this manual outlines your right to call your consular officer should you have an encounter with the police and are not sharp on the laws pertaining to the nationality of your people, the Al-Moroccans, Americans, Moorish people. Now, when we're saying consular officer, we're saying elected official. We're saying a member, or could be saying a member, or which is a citizen of a nation, body politic that's competent in law. Whenever you're utilizing identification as national in origin and you're not inside the temple and you're dealing with foreigners, you need to be competent enough to be an ambassador of your nation state, meaning you know the laws of the land, you know jurisprudence. And that makes you a consular officer in their system. They're going to call you a consular officer. So I wanted to say that. Yep. This is Moorish Tactical. Going through Moorish Tactical right now. Let Brother Rocky back. All right, so you're deemed a consular officer, a member of an organization, member of a clan, member of a temple, member of a consulate, member of an embassy of your national origin. The consular officers, should you encounter with a police officer and are not sharp on the laws, right? You have that right. So that's my other point. You have that right. If you get pulled over or whatnot, you a member of the organization, member of the government, citizen of the government, you have the right to call your ambassadors. But once again, it needs to be some allegiance. It needs to be some participation economically, physically, competently, active members, active citizen. It's not just wait till you get pulled over. You don't really know too much. Now you want to call somebody that's competent in the body to save you. It's not, you want to, we brothers and sisters, right? We want to pour into what we're doing. Get competence so we can get expansion, so we can have more economics, right? Because everybody paying dues. Classic example. I'm gonna say this example until I actually get the 100 people. If we had 100 people involved, $10 a week, 40,000 every 12 months, $250,000 every 3 years. That means we'll have money for schools, businesses, land, pay a couple of our members so they won't have to have a 9 to 5, so they can just have 100% of their time focused on what we're doing. That's what comes with that. Now we got muftis that on payroll from their own people to do what? Just be full time. If any of our people get, you know, pulled over by the foreigner or whatever, y'all pull up on the scene and say, has it been any treaty violation? Any violation between our nation and your nation? Because according to the manual, it talks about how to deal with non-U.S. citizens that may have a treaty with the United States via Article 6, Clause 2. So this all leads to that, you know. It's a brotherhood, sisterhood, same thing. Nation state activities where your mind needs to be. And you're talking about nation state of mind, like the brother Benjamin said a couple weeks ago, right? Nation state of mind, what that entails. Where's your head at? Where's your allegiance at? Where's the vision? What we doing, right? All right. So the term consular officer essentially refers to elected officials in the Moorish temples or state body politics. These elected officials should be competent in jurisprudence or the law of the land and should be able to eloquently express their position. Though having a consular officer is an option, I recommend all Moors become competent in law. An interesting element of this manual is that it directs all law enforcement to Article 6 of the Constitution. Now, I'm speaking on the manual that, right, that's how we got the car at the tow yard. It's an example of competency, intelligent tone, what it'll get you. So keep in mind that this manual, which is their manual, it's not ours. We're just showing that we read it and we know what's in it. In that manual that they're deemed to know, instructions for federal, state, local law enforcement on how to interface with non-U.S. citizens, called foreign nationals in their system. It directs them to Article 6 of the Constitution, wherein all law enforcement take an oath to uphold the entire Constitution. It also directs law enforcement to the section of Article 6 of the Constitution where it states treaties are the supreme law of the land. This is important as it lays the foundation for letting it be known that Moors are not U.S. citizens. Moors are a separate nation of people. It also spells out how things are supposed to be handled when disputes arise between Moors and U.S. citizens. I noticed that whenever I bring up this manual, the officers are always caught off guard, mainly because I'm showing them a manual that they are supposed to know about and exposing that they don't. For that reason, I made the consular notification manual the first topic of the flowchart. This manual also addresses that you do not, or the temple or the consulate, as they say, does not have to be on the mandatory notification list in Washington, D.C. That is not necessary. For the officers to engage with you in this manner, right? You don't have to be on that list. You just need to say what your nationality is via your identification. And off top, they have to go to this mode of dealing with you. You just have to be competent. There is also a question and answer portion of this manual which asks, are nationality and citizenship the same? In their manual, it says yes, because your nationality determines your citizenship. If you have allegiance, because you will want to be a citizen of your nation. That's just, no brainer. I like highlighting this because once again, it sets the tone, reinforcing the fact that we Moors are a separate nation of people. For your nationality determines your citizenship. So if I am a Moor, I am a Moroccan citizen. I have enclosed copies of the pertinent sections of the manual. So here's the actual manual from the Department of State. Instructions for federal, state, and local law enforcement and other officers regarding foreign nationals in the United States and the rights of consular officials to assist them. course, I highlighted that the United States complies with its legal obligations to such governments. These legal obligations are primarily from treaties, which form the supreme law of the land under Article 6 of the Constitution. The instructions and guidance contained in this manual must be followed by all federal, state, and local law enforcement, local government officials, whether law enforcement, judicial, that means judges. But you can use this in court to substantiate a jurisdictional claim or other insofar as they pertain to foreign nationals subject to the official's authority or to matters within the official's competence. That's why I got an extra box. It's a box within a box. Because the official's competence. Who's our officials? The foreigner and you. Because when you step out, you're an official for your government. You're an ambassador. Right? And then they work for a corporation. But they're still deemed to be competent on this manual because this is a manual for their corporation on how to deal with people that got nationalities and know that they have nationality. The competence on what? What's the competence based on? Constitution, treaty, international law, how to interact with non-U.S. citizens. Their officers are deemed to know how to go about that. That's the purpose of the manual. Will help prevent both international and domestic litigation. So this will stop a lawsuit, right? And now you can sue behind this manual. You can use this as a principle to sue. Once again, in the book or their manual, I per se, it got the actual quote: "Treaties made shall be made, law of the land." Article 6, Clause 2. This is in their language. This is in their stuff, right? Just wanted to highlight that. Most people that read this already know this, but repetition is something that's imperative here when you're aiming to go this far with your identification and things like that. You need to be competent and also know what this is all about. That's why it's divine and national, because before you start enforcing stuff like this, 9 times out of 10, you want to be part of a brotherhood, have a tightness. You want the love vibration to be very strong. If you're talking about you're going to call on your brother when a foreigner is in front of you, there should be some allegiance there. Should be sticking to the script, solid. Right? Got temple dues, participation, attempting to establish a rapport where everybody's involved, that's involved in the organization. Right? Then it's this side of the game, the political side. It all goes hand in hand. It's all goes hand in hand. All right, so any questions on that before I go on to the latter part of my demonstration here? Okay. So I want to highlight another piece of law we can use. You got something, Rocky?
Yeah, I got a question. Sorry,
Oh,
it's fidgeting with this thing.
Uh,
So, as far as like contacting ambassadors in the event of some legal trouble, like, is there like an internationally recognized ambassador, or does that matter? Like, would it ever go to that level?
Well, for example, like Khalifa
Like,
Society.
like the recognition, does it need to be recognized by the United States or internationally? Just because I'm not familiar with the legalities.
Yeah. Okay. So I think you wasn't in here. I read something in their manual where it states that the consulate or embassy or body politic doesn't have to be recognized by Washington, D.C. It's more about you saying this is my nationality, and based on that, that determines your citizenship. So once people, like in our case, Moors, like that's the whole point. Khalifa society, in their system, we're a consulate embassy. Our general, our competent members are, which is what we know as a citizen, that are exercising like that, are looked at as consul officers. They're called consul officers. So that's kind of how you gotta look at it, and the importance of, and so in that case, who you will call will be a competent member of the organization. Ideally, it should be more than one. If that makes sense, Brother Rocky. Like, if it's 6, 7 members in the organization that are competent enough to assist you on the field, that's great. But those will be the people that you will be contacting. It's not really like nothing outside of that. You know what I mean? It's any member or citizen in your organization, in this case, Khalifa Society, any competent member, you call and let them know what's going on. That make pretty clear on that? Any other, that makes sense? Or that?
Yes, appreciate the explanation.
Yep. All right, no problem, man. Anybody else got any questions on that? Pretty clear, everybody? Straightforward? All right, so transition into more things we can use to substantiate our position. And when we say the First Amendment, First Bill of Rights, the right to religion, religious customs, culture. This is a public law 97-280, loosely called the Year of the Bible. In that document, or in that record, it's talking about principles of religion. It states, because religious freedom is the first and foremost right of the Bill of Rights, right? The First Amendment. Infringes upon free exercise of religion should be accorded strict scrutiny. And it goes on to talk about, that's a human right as well. And also principles of the Declaration of Independence is rooted in that, which recognize laws of nature and nature's God, being in harmony with that, which are unalienable rights that are endowed by the Creator. So when we're saying we got habits and customs as a people, as a nationality of people, just know it's protected under the First Amendment and codified in this public law 97-280. So that means you can use holy books to substantiate your position as well. Bible, Quran. Because remember, we're the mothers and fathers of civilization. So all concepts of spiritual enlightenment are getting people character right to a point of divinity come from the Moors anyway. So all those are our holy books. We can use these holy books to substantiate a position. This happens to be Genesis chapter 10, 6-20, dealing with sons of Ham. We know that's our ancestor. We can use this to substantiate a land claim, a state claim, because we know the jurisdiction of Ham was North America through South America. That's our bloodline of people. We can put that in our adverse possession or conversion to trust, or reversion of estate claims. Right? While I was on the Bible, I wanted to give I always like to give analogies of things that are in the Bible that are not to be taken so literally. and break it down in a more practical way. So we're dealing with the definition of memukin. According to the biblical book of Esther, specifically Esther chapter 1, verse 14, and chapter 1, 16 to 21, was one of the 7 vice regents of the Persian king of Osiris. That's the statement in this particular Bible verse and chapter. Now, when we take this to the metaphysical Bible on Mamukin, we want to get the principles when we're dealing with these holy books. We don't want to get rocked to sleep with the principles on dogma. We want to get, what is the book really, what's the real message here? Are we really talking about 7 vice regents? Is that really what we're talking about? Are we talking about 7 vice regents of the Persian king, literally? Is that what we're talking about? So Mamukin, dealing with principles of upright, true, honorable, dignity, authority, right? Metaphysical, 7 is the number of natural man. Memukin represents one of the 7 creative principles that have been developed in the natural man. At its root, it is honorable, upright, true, and good. So we just got the principles. We're not talking about literally vice regents of some Persian king. These are principles and allegory that we need to grasp. Now, what are the 7 creative principles? What is that? What are the 7 creative principles? When we see that, what is that? So here will be an example of the 7. Go ahead, brother. You got something, Benjamin Bray?
Seven examples, or 7 principles would be 7 plans. That's my answer.
Okay. Yeah.
Not serious. Not in it, right?
Yep. 7 creative principles, 7 ruling planets, right? There's things that correspond to that 7, right? Now, the 7 creative principles, when I read that, I was like, man, let me look up the 7 creative principles. So I found something on the 7 creative principles, and we're dealing with sensation, force, discrimination, order, cohesion, fermentation, transmutation. 7 chakras, like the brother put in the chat. But specifically, I found something when I looked up 7 creative principles, because that's how it was presented. And I found this, as we see, as above, so below. You see the signs and symbols is there. You got astrology signs. You see the more science all over this, right? 7 creative principles. Order. I'm talking about Islam, peace, mayat, balance, order, cohesion, discrimination, able to discern what is truth and what is falsehood, right? Force, sensation, transmutation. Transmutate, dealing with the magi, right? They're able to, you can be happy, sad. It's all a state of mind. Transmutate the energy. Make something that's chaotic peaceful. That's an example of transmutating. All right, so I think it was up to page. It was something I wanted to read that I found in this book. It's actually a book, by the way, that y'all can order. It's called 7 Principles, 7 Creative Principles. Let me see something. I think it was page 90. Oh, okay. So in this specific chapter is going into one of the creative principles on formation, but in the first paragraph, I like the way he lays out the whole situation right here. So we are brought this evening to the consideration of the fifth principle of creative energy, fermentation, right? We have in the past considered the first. Now he's going to go over the first couple of ones just to give you an idea what he's entailing. We have in the past considered the first force, that which is the cause of action and also the cause of negation. Second, discrimination, which distinguishes and causes everything to seek its kind. Third, order, which is the wondrous mechanic, so faithfully performing his duty and building everything in the world into variety and beautiful form. As we everywhere behold. Fourth, cohesion, the mother principle. Now I find that how he said it, modern European author, the mother principle. Right, we popped off the demonstration today dealing with how they suppressing the mother and the sign, the signs and symbols on how they showing you how they just suppressing the mother, right? The dar. So they know how important the mother principle is. The mother principle that we so love and venerate, in which, hold on. So cohesion is a mother principle. What is cohesion? A well mesh, balance, it goes together well. Peace, mother principle. And which works so faithfully in preserving, holding, and maintaining all things that have been brought into existence by the three prior forces. So I just wanted to read a little tidbit on that. So 7 creative forces, 7 creative principles, right? Most importantly, we took a Bible verse, broke it down to proper perspective. The unfoldment of man. Unfolding properly, right? I'm going to close out with any questions or any statements before I continue?
Islam. Yeah, it was wild that you just asked that too, because I was about to say something. But I was going to ask, do you wonder how where you were just showing that diagram of the 7 and where it does have the astrology tied into it on how where the signs is with it, being that we got our main sign and then the ascending and descending. Just wonder how that would like correlate with the positions that they're in. Like I seen where it had the Gemini and I want to say Taurus in the same area, if I'm not mistaken, and just how that one has honor, and then the other one near where it got discrimination with what is that what's them 2 signs with riches? Is that Libra? Is that the Libra sign, if I'm mistaken?
I think that's legal. Yeah, Libra and Virgo. Or is that Virgo? Yeah, I think it's Virgo.
I'm not 100%.
Yeah, I think it's Virgo.
Okay, yeah, I was just asking, like, this if you probably knew anything add on to that. Just like, is just something that's interesting to me personally. That's all. I'll just look.
Yeah, yeah. That's a beautiful observation because we didn't really touch on it like that on that space. But yeah, as you can see, it's connected to the zodiac signs. So that'll be something to cross reference, and just to just to using the educational logical sound mind observation, I would say it would be pertaining to the attributes of that sign corresponding to that pillar. So yeah, for force, to have a force, you would need to be balanced. That's just my intellectual factor, intuition taking my mind there, right? To draw a blow, like a good punch, you would have to be balanced to your core to throw a good punch or a kick, right? And Libra's dealing with balance. So that's just where my intellectual, intuition took me, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I was just asking, building with it.
Yeah. No, it was a good one. It got my mind thinking. Anybody else had anything or I was gonna call it the Quran chapter here. Oh, and so okay, this is corresponding to the Bible chapter that we just looked at actually. Genesis 10, 6 through 20, dealing with the sons of Ham, Cush, etc. Cush's son Nimrod. Now, in the Holy Quran, it's talking about the same thing, a little more comprehensive. So this is chapter 47. Yeah, chapter 47. Egypt, the capital empire of the Dominion of Africa. The inhabitants of Africa are the descendants of the ancient Canaanites from the land of Canaan. Old man Cush and his family are the first inhabitants of Africa who came from the land of Canaan. His father Ham and his family were second. So I don't know if y'all seen a diagram that I did. I posted on Instagram. It's like a map with a demarcation line. And it's showing the jurisdiction of the father Ham and Cush. So notice old man Cush and his family were the first inhabitants of Africa in the sense how we know Africa to be. Most people think of Africa today, who came from Canaan. So we're talking America, like North America, Mexico, etc. His father Ham and his family were second. Then came the word Ethiopia, which means the demarcation line of the dominion of a Mexico, or which is, the true divine name of Africa, the dividing of the land between father and son. The dominion of Cush, northeast and southeast Africa. In northwest and southwest was his father's dominion. So when you're thinking northwest, southwest, thinking the Americas. And that the demarcation line that split basically like West Africa and basically West Africa to the Americas, and then basically West Africa the other way to like Manchuria or China. Basically separated the land of Ham and Cush. In later years, many of their brethren from Asia and the Holy Lands joined them. The Moabites from the land of Moab, who received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle and inhabit northwest Africa, they were the founders and the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire. With their Canaanite, Hittite, and Amorite brethren who sojourned from the land of Canaan, seeking new homes. So just think of America, spreading the culture, expanding it. Their dominion and habitation extended from northeast and southwest Africa, across the great Atlantis into the present North, South, Central America, and also Mexico, and the Atlantis Islands, before the great earthquake which caused the great Atlantic Ocean. The river Nile was dredged and made by the ancient pharaohs of Egypt in order to trade with the surrounding kingdoms. Also, Niger River was dredged by the great pharaoh of Egypt in those ancient days for trade, and it extends eastward from the river Nile, westward across the great Atlantic. It was used for trade and transportation. According to all true and divine records of the human race, there is no Negro, black, or colored race attached to the human family, because all the inhabitants of Africa were and are of the human race, descendants of the ancient Canaanite nation from the Holy Land of Canaan. Which your ancient forefathers were, you are today, without doubt and contradiction. There was no one who was able to change man from the descendant nature of his forefathers, unless his power extends beyond the great universal creator Allah himself. These holy and divine laws are from the Prophet Noble Jew Ali, the founder of the uniting of the Moorish Science Temple of America. These laws are to be strictly preserved by the members of all temples of the Moorish Science Temple of America. They will learn to open their meeting and guide it according to the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Every subordinate temple of the Grand Major Temple was to form under the covenant of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and to create their own laws and customs. Create their own laws and customs in conjunction with the laws of the Holy Prophet and the Grand Temple. I, the Prophet Noble Jew Ali, was sent by the great God Allah to warn all Asiatics of America to repent from their sinful ways, because the great and unlawful day that is sure to come. The time has come when every nation must worship under its own vine and fig tree, and every tongue must confess his own. Through sin and disobedience, every nation has suffered slavery. So every time our people were in slavery, quote unquote, but we know it's Slavic, is because we were going against nature, not honoring our mothers and fathers, not working with each other. Fell asleep, useless eater, ward of the state, minority. Due to that fact, they honor not the creed and principles of their forefathers. That is why the nationality of the Moors was taken away from them in 1774, and the word black, Negro, and colored was given to the Asiatics of America, who were of Moorish descent, because they honored not the principles of their mother and father and strayed after gods of Europe, whom they knew nothing. So that was chapter 47. That was my demonstration for today. I want to open the floor for just any comments or anything. You know, how everybody feel about that chapter in the Quran though? What stood out? I would like to know.
About fish, I think about metaphysically going from left brain thinking to right brain. Kind of that before, but the demarcation line you have like the split in between brains. So father and son, mother and son. So, patriotic thinking, left brain, matriotic thinking, right? And build new homes, everything, in the new place to be the right side of the brain, building new ideas, but use that part of it instead of whole thing for the whole thought on the left side. That's what I just think inwardly, as well as the American world. The last time you were telling me the older part over here, the empire, you built it there, it was across for the Great Atlantic Ocean, and that the world was like straight open. So I appreciate that part. Just taking the metaphysically thinking like inwardly first, and then put it into the American.
Wow. Islam. That's beautiful, man. Anybody else had any thoughts?
Yeah, I like the part where he was, addressing that the issue that we have is, sin, and when we operate in that spirit, in that functionality, and not knowing better and doing better, going against the Most High and the natural way of life, that because we were destined for leadership, that all these troubles and hardship is going to come upon us. You know what I mean? So that's what stuck out to me the most. You know what I mean? Is getting back to being right with ourselves innerly and outerly towards others and to our Creator. So yeah.
Wow, beautiful, man. Beautiful observation, man. You got something, brother Shalom? Shalom.
Nah, I'm just soaking it all in right now, brother. It's a lot to take in, and I've been writing down a few things you were saying, and I'm gonna study that. You know what I'm saying? So to do the knowledge and get more information. You know what I mean? This has been a blessing to me, bro. It's been a blessed 2 hours, bro. For real. I mean that. It's a blessing.
Beautiful, man. Glad you feel that way, man. Letitia, I'm not sure. I think it's probably first time on here. You got any thoughts? Want to introduce yourself or anything at all that you wanted to add?
Oh, nothing to add on my part. Yeah, it is my first time on here. I'm actually from Utah. So was introduced and taking notes myself. Very inspiring for sure. Some things for sure I need to look more into, same as Brother Salone as well. I was writing down.
Okay. Okay. Who introduced you? How did you get on the meeting?
Oh, so I was introduced from Brother Trey.
Oh, okay. That's beautiful. I'm glad some things resonated with you, and hopefully it's opening up a beautiful door to want to continue to go through.
Definitely.
But yeah, welcome. Appreciate you tapping in as well. Did anybody else have any other thoughts that they wanted to questions or anything or any level? All right. Once again, we want to show some sincerity in what we're doing. We want to we want to build, we're building something. So all people involved with the Legal Society, if you're, seeking to be a member of the Legal Society, let's have some consistency, participation, dues, thirst for studying, and pushing this info so we can wake up our friends and family and have them come to what we're doing. And just keep that in mind, the sincerity aspect of what we're doing. If nobody else has any other thoughts, hope everybody has a beautiful rest of their Sunday. And it was an excellent build. Most people have my number. Reach out. If not, on Instagram. Anytime y'all want to build, hit me up. Pretty much.
Don't.
And,
Hey, brother, don't forget the PDF book for me.
Yeah. I got you. I got you after that.
Definitely, because I need that. Because I mean, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to do my studying in between because I have a blended family at home and I work at the shipyard. So it's going to be hectic, but I'm going to go through it and persevere. So, yeah, send me that information. And I'm definitely attending every meeting on Sunday. And I'm definitely going to pay the dues every week. We good.
Yeah, peace and love. I got you. As soon as we close out the meeting, I'm gonna email you.
All right, brother, no doubt.
But yeah, peace and love to everybody, man. And let me check the chat one more time. Somebody said so. Yeah, peace and love to everybody. And I hope everybody have a beautiful rest of their Sunday. And I'll see everybody next Sunday officially at 11 Cali time. But once again, anybody can hit me up throughout the week. We can chop it up on whatever. But Islam, everybody, and peace and love.
Islam, peace and love.
Islam, brother.